In my job, I get to talk a lot to customers directly, but I also receive a lot of feedback from our sales team around the globe, lots of feedback. And so I see some pattern of where customers make decision when they purchase a cloud platform service, where I think like there is a clear trend of a mistake that many of them share. But before I tell you what you can do to prevent that mistake or what that mistake even is, let me give you some context. In 2012, when I joined Microsoft, Azure was pretty young. In Switzerland, not many people talked about it, quite frankly. AWS, I only recall one customer who was aware of AWS at that point, their cloud service offering. But other than that, it was a traditional supplier enterprise customer relationship that we had, right? If you had more employees the next year, you bought more Windows licenses, you needed more server call licenses, you maybe needed additional server infrastructure and so on. So our growth in the business was really around that. And if I would talk to you and say, hey, what are your goals and ambition for next year? Depending on what you said, that had a huge influence on my possibility of success from a Microsoft perspective. Now, if you said, oh, we're migrating SAP away or Oracle here, or it's all about our open source part of the infrastructure, right? Whatever that is, there wasn't much that I could contribute to. There maybe was an indirect value I could add, but otherwise, because I wasn't that open source provider for you, I wasn't SAP, that's SAP, so it was limited. Now with the cloud, everything changed. With the cloud, it does not matter what your priority is from a Microsoft contribution to value to your success. If you have SAP, we got SAP on Azure. If you have some big project in open source, we have pretty much all distros in the cloud as well, open source databases. So whatever it is, all of a sudden I actually can add value. The question is, can I prove that I can provide value to you, but in theory I can provide value to you. But that's not the only thing that changed. The cloud fundamentally changed how Microsoft interacts with enterprises. Those really cutting edge leading industries that, very fast with innovation, with them, we become more of partners. Because we're not just the back infrastructure, we're also in the products or services that they sell to their customers. That could be in the form of a bot that is driven by AI that helps with customer service. It could be that you have some kind of electronic that you sell, if that is a car, whatever it is you're manufacturing, that has a piece of Azure in it or connects to Azure. And all of a sudden, with every product you sell, Microsoft is in that product too. And so the relationship changes because all of a sudden, if let's say your e-banking app using a lot of Azure services is disrupted because Azure has an issue, now the customer going to blame you. They're not going to blame us. You might say, oh, but it was our partner Microsoft that screwed up. It wasn't us, so we're really sorry. But it doesn't matter. You have to deal with the mess. Where traditionally, if a file server didn't work or a print server, it might have a very small impact on a few customers that needed your employees to print something out, but mainly it was your employees who took the hit. With the cloud and how it shifts is different. And so when you're purchasing cloud platform services, that's important to remember. It's not that traditional supplier customer relationship that we have. It's really much more like a partnership. So let's quickly talk about what is that number one mistake. And the number one mistake I see enterprise making is making a decision based on a feature. And I count price as a feature in a sense from a cloud platform. And whatever that feature is, Cloud Platform A can do this, Cloud Platform B can't do it, or Cloud Platform A has a better price feature versus Cloud Platform B. So why is that an issue? Isn't that normal that people make decisions based on that? Yeah, maybe. And in the old world, that would have been just fine. But let me ask you, you bought whatever cloud platform you decided to, you start an IT project. In average, how long are your IT projects going? Obviously depends on the scope, but it's usually a few months, maybe even a year. Big migrations, updates. It's, I remember when I was in IT where the new Windows 7 desktop image was like a year, 18 months into the works before it actually got rolled out. So it's not as simple, right? It's complicated. So you make a decision based on the feature, based on that day, that moment. Now you start making your project plan. You have all the employees or the staff members on board. They're all briefed. Everybody goes to work. Now another cloud platform makes an announcement that whatever it is you do will be much easier to do, much faster to adopt, and maybe even cheaper. But even if it will be more expensive, if you save people hours working on the project, that's also savings. So you might be willing to pay a little bit more for it because it's easier to adopt, easier to maintain, just the whole life cycle got a lot easier. But how many enterprises are really that agile that they can say, oh, let's stop the project here and we go to this platform? Would that even be smart if you start jumping around, which basically means that you never deploy because you hop around cloud A, cloud B, cloud C, cloud A, cloud B, cloud A, cloud C. Like, where does that end? For example, I had a CIO at the Gartner I/O conference in Vegas before the pandemic. He wanted to talk to Microsoft. I got a chance to talk to him and he had this beautiful plan. Him and his team calculated for each of the workload which cloud provider would be the most cost efficient. And then I asked him, so let me ask you, how big are those workloads? If tomorrow a cloud provider reduces, how fast do you move from that to this? And I know with containers and other things, people think or hope or plan that eventually they can make it, cloud agnostic, so it can run everywhere. There is no lock-ins, but depending on how much data you have, it's still going to take time to actually move the data. You still have certain things that need to be configured. It's never going to be as fluid where it's just like, oh, today I'm going to run cloud A, tomorrow cloud B. Oh, wait, they just announced price reduction here. I'm going to run in cloud C. And this is something that has a huge cultural change impact in an enterprise IT in general to get more agile, even if you stay with the cloud provider and they introduce a new service that makes it easier. Even if you don't swap that, how do you adopt that? But to come back to the decision, if you decide on a feature at any given time, just note that that could be not true any longer the next day. Sometimes the field doesn't know what we're going to announce. Sometimes it's a surprise. It's kept very tented so that just a very few people know it. But maybe it changes in a month. So if I were in the shoe of an enterprise customer, making a decision of which cloud platform is going to be my main cloud platform provider, of course you can always try to spread it, but most enterprises already have the challenges to find skilled people on any given cloud platform. And then if you have to have 3 expert teams or 4 experts team for each cloud, I don't know. I leave that up to you. But for me, I would look at the history of the company. I would look at the company, who do I want to partner with? Who has similar values to my value? Who do I believe is best suited to help us as a customer achieve our mission? Because features come and go, prices go up and down. That's not going to change. And so unless you have the agility to change the split second, then do that. But if you're not, make sure you know where you bet your business, where you want to bet your business on to grow, and just make sure it is the right partner, because everything else will change. If you like this video, please subscribe. Share it with your colleagues, leave comments if you agree, disagree, what you would change, or if you want me to cover in a future episode a specific topic, please let me know. The Dave Kurt, out.